Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, April 23rd special meeting of the board. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Copeland.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. First, let me indicate that based on conversations with staff has had with the community, we knew we'd have a large crowd. We had anticipated going to Lower Merion High School. Lower Merion High School is prepared to do their spring play, so the stage and the setup was unavailable to us. We then tried to move it to the LGI, large group instruction area. That was also unavailable to us. So I apologize at the crowded situation, but I am pleased that so many of you were able to come out this evening. Before I turn it over to Megan Schaefer, let me say that to be sure, the look at a new before and after care provider was initiated by events that took place at Kinwood Elementary School this past fall. However, the board, subsequent or maybe collateral to that, also passed a policy that indicated that it is now policy for us to regularly take a look at contracts that we have throughout the district on a regular basis, and so we've done that. I also want to go on record as saying we have been pleased throughout the year that some of the security issues that have taken place in the schools, that MELC has really made an effort, and that's one of the reasons why, as we make this transition process recommendation, we're going to continue, or at least it's my recommendation, that we're going to continue our relationship with them for the wraparound kindergarten program to ease as much of that issue through the transition as possible. So the district put out a number of RFPs, requests for proposals. I then asked Megan Schaefer, who's one of our senior directors, to compose a committee of parents, principals, and dentists and central office administrators to vet out the various groups. So, as I said, we had 5 that they took a look at, and I'd like Mrs. Schaefer to go through that process.
Good evening, members of the board, members of the public, who I assume are mostly families, moms and dads. First and foremost, I want to share that in addition to being the Senior Director of Policy, Personnel, and School Programs and being intimately involved with this process, I too am a parent with children in before and after care, not in this district, but I certainly appreciate the importance of before and after care, not only from the standpoint of wanting to have your children in a safe and secure and environment that's engaging, but also from the standpoint of convenience. And what I think the district can offer and has offered is this place within their buildings to have a convenient, safe, comforting environment for children where they can be with friends, where you can pick them up, where you can feel like there's support not only from the program that's in place, but also the district itself. So I certainly appreciate you being here, and I hope you also understand that I share your concerns relative to making sure that the next provider is one that can provide that level of safety, security, and happiness for your children. So to turn to the process that we engaged in, which began in January, where in consultation with our solicitor's office, the district prepared a thorough request for proposals for school-based before and after care, after-school child care. Specifically, the proposal noted that Lower Merion School District is seeking proposals from qualified child care operators to enter a 2-year license agreement in order to provide child care services for elementary school children before and after school. The care is provided at parents' guardians' expense in each of the 6 elementary school buildings within the district. The operator would function as a separate entity, business, and would not be affiliated or supported by the district except as to the provision of facility space per the terms of the executed license agreement. All aspects of the child care services, including but not limited to services, programs, and employees, shall be the sole responsibility of the selected operator. So that was the sort of leading paragraph of the proposal, and the proposal went on for a dozen pages or so, which included a proposed contract. That request for proposals was then issued on February 1st to a variety of child care providers. The responses were due on February 28th. Between February 28th and March 2nd, 5 proposals were received and reviewed. Also, as Mr. Copeland had already indicated, a committee was formed to take the next step with the review process. I'd like to introduce by name the members of the committee, which included principals, Dr. Dan Martino, Veronica Ellers, and Ann Heffron, our supervisor of security, Dennis Witt, board member Robin Van Lynch, parent Abby Roberts, and I'll note that there are many parents on the committee, inclusive of those that I already mentioned, as well as myself. Beginning March 2nd, we began scheduling interviews with the providers, and those interviews were conducted over the days of March 8th and 9th. Then we had planned to conduct site visits very soon thereafter. However, like the way the weather affected the school district also affected our plans to visit many of the sites, which had to be canceled and rescheduled. And as a result of that and spring break, et cetera, I'm sure you can sympathize at some degree with that. We began our site visits the week of April 9th. During that entire time, we were in the process of checking references as well, which involved phone conversations as well as the interviews that we conducted in the site visits. On April 16th, the committee reconvened to discuss the outcome of the site visits as a group, and at that time, the confirmation that MELC was not moving forward as the recommended provider. With respect to the finalists, we had additional follow-up questions which were formulated and sent to those finalists. Having received those responses by April 18th, the committee met once again and made the final decision to recommend to the board this evening Right at School, and that was a unanimous decision by the committee. To move to that decision after a thorough and hours and hours of thoughtful consideration and time committed to not only the interview and site visits, but also individual conversations with the committee members, making sure that we had all of the questions answered that committee members had on various topics. Again, the committee was unanimous in its recommendation, and while we all agreed there were no bad options, we believed that the difference was between good, very good, and great, with our recommendation being what we felt was the best fit for the district and the needs that we had identified, including areas such as mission alignment. Right at School's mission, we believed, paralleled the district's mission in several important ways, talking about innovative practices, engagement, using the time to enrich students, as well as giving them time to play and have fun. It offered a structured program that was identifiable in the schedule, and every staff member that we talked to, it was a recognizable piece of their program. Each person could talk to that with a lot of clarity and consistency. And I'm going to let a few other people talk about some of these details, but I'm just trying to give you a broad overview. The people, the supervision and training of staff, we felt were superior to the others that we considered. Again, not that others were bad, but that we felt that the training was a combination of not only initial orientation, but also ranged to the just-in-time training. What do you need? What can we provide? If there was a student that had a special need, there was a response by the provider to say, we can get training for that. We will partner with the district to get a staff member training on that. The staff ratios were an important aspect of a minimum of 1 to 12, plus when the program is over 40, a program manager would be assigned that would be out of ratio. We felt that was critical. The safety and security, which relates to the staffing piece, as well as some of the protocols that we not only talked about, but we observed personally. The schedule and tuition, flexibility for families, we heard that as an issue. We believe that Right at School meets those needs and delivers options for families. And the one thing that I can speak more, I guess specifically to, is the infrastructure and support. While Right at School is not a local brand name necessarily, on balance, the committee and I certainly felt there was a great value in the national scope of their program and established infrastructure specifically designed to support school-age before and after-school child care programs. Throughout the process, they were highly responsive. Their materials were very detailed and direct, and were fully responsive to our questions. And that stood out among the providers that we saw, and I think that will provide a great benefit to our families, who I know are in a position to want answers, and that's why they've brought a large contingent here tonight to provide some of those answers for you. But before we move on, I do want some other members of the committee to speak to their experience as far as this process. So Veronica Ellers, if you could share a few words.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, board, families, and community members. I really just wanted to share kind of some of my notes that I had taken during the interview process, as well as our on-site visits. There were three major areas of curriculum, staffing, and security that I wanted to highlight from the lens of not only a building principal, but also a community member myself, and I'm a parent of 2 students in the district. During the initial interview, Right at School stood out with their comprehensive curriculum, which covers all of the academic areas and, of course, aligned to the Common Core standards. In addition, they value social and emotional learning, the fine arts, and fitness, with curriculum supporting in each area. It was shared that each year the curricular themes are new, so the program stays fresh and exciting for the children. The program is organized in a way that is multi-sensory and engages all levels of learners. During the on-site visit, the children were engaged in their town hall, where students shared their experiences of the day with other students and staff members. I sensed that the staff members really knew the children by the follow-up questions that were asked. This was also the time that the agenda for the day was reviewed with the children, so expectations were clear. While the children, little bit later on, were outside during their right moves time, I had a chance to view the lesson plan for the day, as well as the schedule, which was posted in the room. Overall, the children appeared to be happy, and the program was very well organized. While asking questions during the interview regarding the hiring of staff, in addition to, of course, a thorough background check, I was pleased to hear that they have a strong retention rate of employees. I find that that's important, that you have employees that are there for longer than just a few months or a year or what have you. Once hired, all staff are trained, as well as ongoing professional development to ensure that practice and procedure is uniform. During the on-site visit, I had an opportunity to talk to the staff, the principal of the building, and the district superintendent. All were more than happy to share their positive experiences that they have had with Right at School. The staff shared that they loved coming to work. Both the building principal as well as the superintendent shared that they have had they've been a pleasure to work with and have not had any issues or concerns. When asking about safety and security, they pride themselves on communication, which I think we all could agree that that's either what's going to make or break you. That's where most issues begin. They also have many preventative procedures to keep all children safe. When asked about how they would handle various security situations, they did not hesitate. It seems that their years of varied experiences from multiple school districts across multiple states have been a benefit for them. When lining up to go outside, just for an example, for their right moves time, all students were accounted for and checked off on a list. I was told that any time they transition to a new location, students are accounted for. Overall, they have a strong curriculum, are very organized, they care about both their employees and the well-being of the children, and I look forward to the opportunity of working with them. Thank you.
I'd also like to have Abby Roberts say a few words about her experience as the parent representative on our committee. Thank you.
Good evening, board members and Lower Merion families. I was very honored to be asked to be part of this committee. My husband and I have 3 elementary school-age children, one in 3rd grade, 1st grade, and pre-K, and we have historically been very active users of the before and after care program. It's a very integral part of our lives, and without it, my husband and I would both not be able to work full-time. We still have several years left in the program, so I went into this process with a very open mind. My goal was to choose the provider that I would be the most comfortable with as a parent, but also one that I think will most appropriately satisfy the needs of all Lower Merion families and students. As Megan and Veronica said, we spent hours meeting with different providers and visiting their sites and meeting their teachers. My final conclusion was that Right at Home is the group that I think will provide the best care and experience for students in the district. There's a few key reasons why, some of which have already been mentioned, but I'll just go through some of them again. Number 1, their scale, experience, and ability to share best practices. Even in very casual conversations during the site visit, we learned about many interesting things they've done at other schools that will work at other Lower Merion locations. Things related to safety, use of space at a site, very creative and thoughtful. Number 2 is the impressive and interesting curriculum. I'm not an educator, so I can't speak to that as well as Veronica, but what we saw firsthand during this visit, there's structure, but there's not too much structure. And there are many tools that Right at School provides the teachers, which they can utilize to ensure the students are having fun and learning. Number 3 was quality of staff. I liked everyone we met, from the teachers to the managers. They all showed passion, creativity, and true care for the children under their care. Number 4, scheduling flexibility and potential lower cost for parents. This has been a concern of mine over the years. They have 3-day options, drop-in cards, lots of thoughtful ways about making the service more appropriate and usable for students. Number 5, track record of growth and expansion. They've shown a proven ability to manage a large district like Lower Merion. They have experience entering new districts and helping to manage the process. So I do think they'll help manage this process as the community goes through the transition. They're progressive and creative thinkers. I love some of the ideas that they talked about, the leadership program for 4th and 5th graders, things that keep the students engaged and the kids engaged throughout the full term of the program. And last but not least is obviously the strong focus on safety, security, and teacher training. So I'm incredibly excited about Right at School. They're bringing creativity and passion into the district. I truly believe that both kids and parents will love the program.
So at this time, we'd like to transition to Right at School for a presentation about their program.
Yes, and I just, Ms. LaPera told me just before we went on that we're not able to load the presentation on Board Doc.
No, I'm sorry. We can view it here tonight.
Right,
We
but-
just can't load it onto Board Docs for people
So we'll
on
have
the
to
board
figure
to
out how to do
follow.
that in the
But
future.
Amy's going to be able to put it onto our website, but it just won't be attached to Board Docs. And I did put a note with a link and so forth into Board Docs.
And so, Amy, you said you'll arrange it so tomorrow something will...
Tomorrow you'll be able to see the entire presentation on lmsd.org.
Oh, okay. Then it was taken care of.
Will it be Adam? I'd like to introduce Adam Case. Oh, I'm sorry. Mark Rothschild, who's the CEO of Right at School, who will begin the presentation this evening. So, thank you.
Thank you to the board and to the community for coming out. I'm Mark Rothschild, the founder of Right at School. It's an incredible honor to be here and to hear the kind words of the team that looked and found us. So I've been in the after-school industry for, well, since I did my doctorate 20 years ago, and I learned about it as an after-school educator and found it to be the most meaningful hours of the day for me personally, and I wanted to build an organization that would take after school as seriously as it needs to be taken. It was later in my career I became the CEO of the Jewish Community Center in Cincinnati and the COO of the Jewish Community Centers of Chicago, where I saw how important after school should be, but how it was often relegated to more of a child care ethos. It didn't have the spirit of enrichment, of social emotional learning, of executive functioning, all the things that children need. And so we decided to build a national institution, an organization that could build on best practices from top thinkers, build curriculum, self-navigation. And so that's what we did in 2011. Our mission, as was described, is to inspire a love of learning, to support schools, and give parents peace of mind. And what we've done is built an organization around our core values. We talk about it as going the extra mile. Some of you saw that live, and you'll see it in the future, where our educators constantly seek to improve program, make it meaningful. And so going the extra mile is also an acronym for being mission-led, which I described, being innovation-driven, looking at best practices internationally for what's happening in after school to make it meaningful, to have kids both self-navigate and have great experiences, but also have a robust, meaningful curriculum that's tied to academic objectives. Locally inspired is a key part of what we do because we're in 200 plus schools and every school is different. So you can have a curriculum that has activities tied to it, but it needs to be implemented with a local focus, a local flavor that doesn't just change district to district, but school to school. And the last is being efficiency obsessed. My wife and I are working parents. We know what we can afford for programs. You have to keep these prices affordable, which is one of the reasons why our fees are 10% less than what the community is currently paying, and how we make sure that we take efficiency to mind because you have to keep the programs for working parents affordable. So students in meaningful after-school programs thrive. We see the research with better grades, elevated test scores, improved behavior and health, improved attendance, greater social emotional learning and executive functioning, and meaningful after-school programs decrease the achievement gap between low performers and high performers the longer they're in these programs. Unfortunately, many school programs fall short. Just going to grab some water. So, as I said, I've been in this field for 20 years and I've never seen after-school providers that don't care passionately about children. It's not the issue of care. It's the issue of it has been run with a different paradigm, a paradigm of babysitting or child care rather than enrichment. There is often a disconnect between what the district objectives are and what the after-school program can provide. Unfortunately, again, not that there aren't caring people, but across the nation, we see inadequate safety procedures and training, which is required. We need to make sure that our after-school providers are trained deeply, and you'll hear throughout the presentation how that is. The other flaw we've seen with programs is they can make parents scramble to fill in holes if they're not there every day that school is in session. And many districts across the country bring us in on half-day teacher in-service programs and so forth. So working parents have a safe and meaningful place to bring their children. The last thing that we often see across the country is staffing-based wait lists. Now, normally I would show you a really cool video, and I'll show it to you in a minute. And we're going to talk about wait lists later in the presentation, but I want to pause for a moment and address this because my understanding is that wait lists have been an issue in the community for many years. Let me begin by saying, in Right at School's history from the 2010-11 academic year to today, there has never been a wait list in any school, in any district that we have served. Wait lists exist for two reasons across the country. One is space-based, and one is staffing-based. Those are the nature of wait lists. So let's address them one at a time. From a staffing-based wait list, not all local providers have the ability to recruit, train, screen, and retain educators. And so it's very difficult. Sometimes they'll start with enough, but then they lose some. At Right at School, and you're going to hear the details, but I just wanted to sort of start with wait lists because I think that is an issue. We have, and you'll hear in great detail, incredible retention strategies. First of all, we pay more than most people. We train more than most people. We have standards that give them excitement to know what they're doing during the day. So we have never had a staffing-based wait list in our lives. The other reason why there's wait lists across the country is because sometimes not enough space is licensed. That can be for one of two reasons. One, schools are space constrained and there's not enough room for children. Or two, licensing teams don't know how to license everything to maximize how many children can be there. You would think that shouldn't be a problem because there's so many children throughout the school day. Why is space suddenly constrained during the after-school hours? So Right at School's team, we have a leader who's here today and 4 people under her who do nothing but licensing. That's all they do. We build relationships and we know how to license space so programs can grow. We're going to hear a lot more details, but at least I want to introduce that and share with you now a 2.5-minute video.
My first experience with Right at School was my first year here as principal.
Good morning!
And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity for our students to receive very interactive and enriched before and after school care right here at their very own elementary school.
We began looking at after-school options, and we really wanted to find a program that had a substantial curriculum as well as enrichment activities. So we brought the program here to the district.
I was looking at after-school programs for the last decade, and I saw well-meaning people trying to make a difference, but there was no curriculum. It looked more like babysitting than real important social emotional learning. So we built Right at School to do something different.
One of the aspects that we really appreciated about Right at School is the ability to customize the programming. It's not a cookie cutter. We had the ability to say, in our community, this is important. These are the kinds of things that our families are wanting, and Right at School customized, created, and delivered that kind of programming.
I love Right at School because my children don't have to get on a bus to go somewhere else after school. I know that they're at school and they're safe. I can't tell you how many times I pick up my girls and they ask to stay longer. And frankly, it's so affordable for my family.
Enrolling your child in our after-school program is a win-win for Ebinger families because students are able to get their homework done, get some interactive activities going on, and when the parents come to pick them up after a long day of work, they get to spend time with their kids, not doing homework. It's about family time.
The staff love the students love the staff, and it's apparent with their smiles and the engagement of the students.
Right at School has actually become part of Ebinger's school culture. They take care of everything. They're here at the crack of dawn, and they leave when it's dark out at night. I don't have to worry about hiring, and they even share the revenues with us as a school.
Right at School came into our community, cared about us from day one, answered all of our questions, made every opportunity to reach out to our parents work. And if you're looking for someone who's a great partner, Right at School has proven that they're it.
I'm really proud of what we do at Right at School because what we do matters. It matters for children, It matters deeply for schools who know that they can trust us, and it matters for parents who need to stay at work and know that their children are safe and engaged in serious academic enrichment.
Right at School has not only given me peace of mind, but the parents at Ebinger School.
Right at School has been everything we expected and a whole lot more.
Hello, my name is Adam Case. I'm the Chief Services Officer with Right at School. Thank you to the board and thank you to the community as well for coming out. I want to spend just a few minutes talking about the key things that make Right at School different. Now the first, and you saw it a bit in our video, and Dr. Wilkins will talk much more about our curriculum, is how we use disguised learning to take, the Common Core, to take social emotional learning standards, to take Kennedy Fine Arts standards, and really to bring them into our curriculum, but most of all to make them engaging and fun for our students. The second is how affordable and flexible we are for our parents. With Right at School, parents can sign up for 1 to 5 days per week. You select and pay for the days that you need. You can sign up for before school, you can sign up for after school, or you can sign up for both. And families can change their schedule monthly. We're working parents, and we know how important that is. Certainly with my family schedule, it can change month to month. Also, the rates are 10% lower than what parents are currently paying. That's part of what being efficiency obsessed is all about for Right at School. Now, one of the key questions that we've received from the district and from the community, and Dr. Rothschild spoke to this, is will there be wait lists? We have never had wait lists in our history, just to reiterate what Mark said. If there are limitations due to space, we will work with your principals. We already have started meeting with them, and we'll be having follow-up meetings to really look at all licensable spaces. And when there is an opportunity to increase that space, we'll do it. We will never have wait lists that are due to staffing-related issues. We always hire enough highly qualified and trained educators to meet parent demand. We have the nation's best retention rates. Our retention rates were over 74%. We pay about 5 to 10% above market rate. If we want to hire and retain and build careers for our employees, we know we need to pay them a good wage. And we have a nationally recognized training model. In fact, the head of the National After School Alliance was so impressed with that model that she asked us if we would work with the Department of Labor to make that a template for apprentice programs for the country. It's something that we just believe is so important for our educators that they come into the classroom day one prepared. Now, the other question that's come up, and I know it's front of mind for parents, is what if we've already registered with the current provider? And I want to answer that. So the current provider MLC has committed to giving us the registration list so far. Again, we've never had waiting lists before. So all registered families, and I'm sure this applies to many people in the room, will receive a link from the list that we received to register by May 1st. And what we would just ask is register with us by May 9th. Because on May 10th, we're going to open up registration to the general community as well. I just want to talk a little bit more about other flexibility pieces. We offer last-minute drop-ins for families. We know that some days families may need last-minute care. So parents can sign up on the same day up until about 12 p.m. for their child to drop in that day. And the fee is $35 per day. Or if families know that they're going to need care on an ongoing basis, perhaps on different days each week or just some days, they can sign up for a 10-day punch card as well for a discounted price. We also have half-day and break-day coverage. Half-days are included for all after-school program participants, and then break-day coverage will be available usually at 1 or 2 central school locations for an additional $35 per day. We also offer a number of discounts for families. We offer discounts for siblings, a 10% discount. We offer a discount for military families of 10%. And we also offer a discount for families who receive free or reduced lunch of 30%. We also, just to that point, and it's very important for our mission, we accept state child care subsidy, and we have a full-time coordinator who can work with any families who qualify to help to make sure that they enroll and fill out all of the paperwork. Another key piece for us is having low ratios, and you've heard it before, but being really relentlessly focused on safety. Our average ratio will be 1 to 10 students. The maximum it'll ever be is 1 to 12 students. And when our programs are larger, all of our programs over 45 students will have an out-of-ratio program manager. So that program manager won't be counted in the ratio. They'll just be there to be overseeing the program, to be talking with families when they come in, greeting families, telling them about their child's day, and just being an extra set of hands, leading the program, being the face with the principal as well. We also, I should mention, we're free for school districts, of course, and we share revenue back. We expect that the revenue will be the same and most likely increase back to the school district. We hire locally, to Mark's point and to our value of being locally inspired. Everyone that we hire is local from the community, part-time jobs, full-time jobs. We partner with local colleges to provide pipelines of great educators. Our educators are passionate about working with children. All of them have significant child care experience. All staff hired will meet or exceed the Pennsylvania state licensing standards. And this is a question that we have received. All current program employees will have a priority opportunity to apply. And assuming they're qualified and meet the licensing standards and want to work with us, we'd love to hire those folks. We know that continuity can be important. Then the final piece that I want to speak to is our elective options. So we offer 1-hour classes in things like chess, robotics, martial arts. Now, we know that these are currently offered by your HSAs, and certainly this would be just a service that we could provide to help your HSAs to manage these programs, to take some of that administrative back office burden of handling all the background check clearances or reviewing the insurance or finding additional providers. That's something that we have a lot of experience with and something that we can work with your principals and with your HSAs on a school by school basis to really customize that. And really that goes to every element of our program, that they're customized to really fit each individual school. The final piece I just want to focus on a bit more is safety, because we know really we could have the best curriculum in the world, we could have the best enrichment in the world, but ultimately what matters is that we keep every student safe every day. So safety is at the heart of everything we do. We have exhaustive pre-hire vetting in terms of our state background checks, our FBI background checks, our child abuse clearances through the Child Welfare Information Solution Check System. We do 3 reference checks for all of our employees. Every procedure that we have is focused first of all and foremost on safety. So that means when we, and it was spoken about earlier, when we go from one space to another, it's not just that we say we have 8 students and okay, we have 8 students when we get to the next space, right? That's not sufficient. We have 8 students, and at each space, when you go from one place to the next, you call out the name and then you confirm the person by face, right? That's, that's just the bedrock of how we ensure safety every day. We partner closely with the district on the district and school, individual school safety procedures, from your emergency plans to your lockdown drills. All of that is really tied in closely with each school. Our managers are focused very extensively on safety. We do drills. We have quality checks when our, Jamie's our regional director. When she's here, always first and foremost we'll be focused on the safety of the programs. And the final piece is that safety is really at the heart of our training, and Dr. Wilkins will talk more about our training, but that really sort of forms the foundation that everything builds on, is how student safety informs everything that we do. And with that, Michelle, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, I'm Michelle Wilkins. I'm the Vice President of Education and Training for Right at School. I also sit on the Board of Directors of the National After School Association. I've been a building assistant principal a few times over with after-school programs under me in my history, and probably my most important qualification is that I am a working mother of 2 who I needed after-school programs for many years. So I've sort of been on all perspectives of this journey, and that's, I think, helped us develop Right at School into an organization that really serves all parties in important ways. So what I want to share up here with you is really what is at the the core of everything we build for children, all of our content, all the experiences, all our methods and how we relate to children, our instructional pathways, they're all designed to build in children these things you see in these outer spokes. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir with all the educators and parents in the room here, but this is really the long game of education, right? This is why we bother investing in youth, because we believe these things will play out for the rest of their lives and truly enhance who they are as citizens of the world. Now, as far as a child's perspective, they don't see all that heavy, deep, meaningful stuff. What they see is an afternoon of fun. And so this is just a typical, roughly, school dismissal until parent pickup around 6 afternoon. And what I want to share with you here is we've figured out over years of experience in after school this really important secret sauce where you have this ebb and flow of activities that are more active to things that are a little bit more passive, things that are hands-on and fine motor to things that are gross motor and fitness, indoors to outdoors, small groups to full group. That kind of rhythm really sets all types of children up for success, and that's really important in the after-school hours. So what you're seeing here are us greeting children into an after-school community, taking them through some healthy snack choices every day, and town hall, which you heard about earlier, a community building time. We have fitness a couple times a day in Right Moves and Play Right Fitness. We do get homework done. We value parent time. Even as a doctor of education, I can't stand it, honestly, when I have to help my children with their homework in the evening. I feel really guilty about that, but I'm just keeping it real. So I'm very invested in helping your kids get their homework done so you guys can just chill out at night and have some fun. Daily double triple play is our curriculum, which I'll show you more about in a second. But what I want to point out is the reason it's called daily double and triple play is because this is yet another part of our program where we have choice. Children can be part of the thematic curriculum that I'm going to show you a sample of, but they can also choose to do long-term projects of their own inspiration. So, for instance, we had a theme recently where it was called Fantastic Future, and some 4th and 5th grade boys decided they wanted to build a future city. So we got them all the materials, a lot of just recyclables, honestly, and for weeks on end, these boys just every day came in and immersed themselves in this increasingly complex city that they built. They built infrastructure, and then they wanted to label it, and then they wanted to curate it for their parents. So they did this public presentation in front of all of these parents. So that's us really following the child's passion and giving them the materials, the space, and the time, and then getting out of their way because they are so creative in that open-ended opportunity. The other opportunity during triple play was we might have like, if you think of a table that's like a combination of a maker space and free art, right? So we put out different materials every day, and kids can just come in and truly be open-ended about what they create. It's a really unique space sometimes in the course of a day. This is really what's built into the content of our curriculum. We talked earlier, Adam mentioned disguised learning. And so here was my learning curve. When I came from being a school day teacher and administrator into being an after-school person, what I had to learn was the last thing kids want to hear at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is, who wants to learn some more? Right? That would go over like a piece of coal. So what we did was we figured out how to say, well, if an elementary kids are awake 5,000 hours a year and they spend 1,000 hours in school, they could spend another 1,000 hours in out-of-school time programming. So we better make it meaningful, right? It could just be babysitting, but what a waste of time, right? So we found a way to embed really meaningful learning that enriches them and extends and reinforces what they got in the school day, strengthens their weak areas, closes the achievement gap, but we disguised it all with hands-on fun. And so this is just a peek at, for instance, this current school year's curriculum, which you heard earlier is fresh and new. Every year we don't recycle curriculum. And what you're seeing here are 19 different 2-week themes. You're seeing themes that are about the arts, about sportsmanship, about science, about engineering. And what we're doing is we're taking kids not only through experiences that build up their strength areas, but also expose them to maybe some of the areas they're a little shy about or less confident about. We also have cool parent experiences experiences built in here. Like at the end of the blue theme, Mega Makers, we had a Mega Makers museum where the children shared all these things they built for 6 weeks in that theme. At the end of the pink stage quest every year, we do something called the annual variety show, which the kids are very excited to share their talents with their peers and their parents. So we really focus a lot on a connection with families through the inspiration of the children's activities themselves. And this is just a peek at our curriculum. What we provide for our staff is really designed to set them up for success. So we give them everything they need to deliver curriculum without necessarily being someone who has a teaching certificate. So they're given information about how to set up the activity, not just physically putting materials out, but really setting children up through thinking critically, learning the context of the activity, understanding how it ties to what they might already know. Then when they're all excited and their interest is piqued, then they get their hands into the activity, which in this case is an activity all about Roman aqueducts. After it's over, though, we continue the learning by wrapping up the conversation, helping the kids synthesize what they learned, reflecting on things like, well, what did you do when that didn't work out the first time? The first time the water spilled everywhere, how did your team get past that? Well, what was it like when you were frustrated? How did you overcome that? So they're learning, they're sort of doing this like metacognition, all while in their head they're just like building waterways outside and having a lot of fun. In that blue box in the middle, you're just seeing the things we built into this one day's activity. But what I've seen and experienced is that the kids and the staff come up with 5 to 10 more things because they are so creative, and we encourage them to take activities in directions that reflect their interests and passions. You heard earlier from one of the speakers who was on the committee about the Junior Educator Program, which is mostly for 4th and 5th graders. They actually apply almost like it's an application for their first job, and they apply to be a junior leader in their after-school program. And when they get that position, they have special opportunities to lead, to do things like leading town hall, which gives them public speaking experience, to lead transition games, to do, in the lower right, actually, that's a photo I snapped a couple weeks ago in a program in outside Chicago in Illinois where that older boy was done as a junior educator with his homework, and he saw a group of other kids who were done with their homework, so he got them together and created a reading time and led a read aloud just spontaneously. So that's the kind of leadership for 4th and 5th graders that builds a really beautiful bridge to middle school. And then this is just a reflection. I mentioned earlier the variety show, which you see some photos of there, but we also really encourage service learning among our children, but we follow their interests with those ideas. So for instance, just in the middle there is a photo of hundreds of cards collected that children made for soldiers in one of our states because that was something they were interested in doing. So again, we follow their passions, but encourage them to find those outlets to give back to the community. As I transition into the training portion of this, I want to re-mention what Adam said earlier, that the president of the National After School Association was really, who sees, as a lot of us do in our profession, we see the way training is done across the profession, and we really feel like we found something special. And so we have a blended training model where we learn online first with training modules that reflect a variety of topics I'll show you in just a sec. They also come with online assessments, so we're measuring whether or not our staff have comprehended and can apply concepts to real after-school scenarios. But then we go on site and do live training in the program locations where the children are going to be served. So our staff are actually working in their teams that they're going to be working with every day, working with safety forms, figuring out how they're going to move the children safely outside, who's handing out snack. We imagine scenarios like, Susie just puked in the corner, who's going to handle that while a parent's at the door and children over here need to be led in curriculum. So those are all real life scenarios that we have to work the kinks out of, and we do that all before we ever see children. So we have a really great reputation everywhere we run programs for launching programs right away very smoothly, and that's pretty unusual when you work with children. But throughout the year, then Maris, our local area manager, and our regional director, Jamie, would be constantly coaching the team here. We never rest on our laurels here. We're always raising the bar of quality. So if you see a good program in October, you better come back in December and see a great one, or we're not doing our job. And then we also have professional development opportunities for our staff. So in addition to the ongoing training and coaching, They also have the opportunity to do a professional development certificate that is aligned with the National After School Association core competencies. And in doing those 36 modules, they can earn up to 3 pay increases. So it's professional development, it's a retention piece, and it trickles, all that quality and learning trickles into the local program. And these are just some of the training and evaluation areas. This is not by any means exhaustive, but this really reflects what creates high quality and safe programs. What's most important about the training of our staff is what our staff have told us 3 years in a row about it themselves. 97% of our staff tell us that just a month into their jobs, they feel confident and effective. And for those of us who've worked with children, a month into the job, that is not usually the case. You're still learning names, and it can be a real challenge. So this is a testament of our own staff about us, and has a lot to do with why 74% of our staff are retained from the first day of the school year to the end. That continuity matters in relationships with children and with parents. And I will pass it back to Adam to talk a little bit about our local team that would be coming to Lower Merion.
Sure, thank you. So I just wanted to introduce some of the faces who will lead our programs on a day-to-day basis. Maris Phillips, I suppose you could stand up and wave. Thank you. Maris lives right next door in Valley Forge. Her contact information is, of course, here. The area manager will be the primary contact with your principals, with parents, will be overseeing each of the programs. And then her supervisor is Jamie Montagna. Jamie, she's the regional director. And her contact information is here, too. Certainly, they can answer any questions that you have. And then also our customer service phone number is on there. Our customer service is open, from until 8:30 at night. So, certainly call anytime to answer any questions that you have. And then, of course, all of our staff we will hire locally, and then support from our central office as well. So I just want to conclude with a few reminders. So by May 1, previously registered families will receive a registration link. Also on May 1st at 6:30 at Penn Valley Elementary, there's going to be a parent forum. And really that would be additional opportunity to ask any questions or have any questions answered. There's also going to be childcare at that event and a chance for your children to sample some of the Right at School activities. So we'd love to have you there. On May 9th, the priority registration will close. And then again on May 10th, general registration will open. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for the presentation, and it was very thorough, so we appreciate it. I'm going to open it up to questions from board members, and then we'll go into sort of community comment as well. So are there questions from board members? Deborah, do you want to go ahead?
Thank you for the presentation. I think it was, it's very exciting, and there's so many things that I really love about what you've said and what I've read, especially the social emotional learning aspect, that it goes, beyond childcare, the love of learning, meaningful experiences, really all of it just sounds fantastic. So I do have a couple questions, and one of which is, how do you deal with staffing when kids drop in? So how do you keep the ratio on these drop-in days? And are the kids who are dropping in, are these students who are registered maybe for different days and not on that particular day, but they need it on that day? Or is it for other students that are not registered at all but need it on that day? And that's pretty much it. Thank you. It's really very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, we're incredibly excited as well. In terms of drop-ins in the staffing, so drop-ins are available to families that have already registered with us. We need to have your your child's safety information. We need to collect any allergy information, make sure that we're prepared for the child to be there that day. Typically, our programs don't have wait lists, and they don't have wait lists, and there's open room, and there is. We staff, so we're not at the maximum. We staff so there's additional capacity because our programs grow over the course of the year. So if there was a case where we were absolutely at our staffing ratio maximum, we would say, we can't take a drop in. That doesn't ever happen. Yeah.
Yeah, part of the reason that never happens is because we also have a healthy sub pool.
Right.
So in addition to the staff who are assigned to each local program, we'll have an additional staff who are just subs. That's all that they do. And so they can easily, by our parents letting us know by noon on the day of a drop-in, that gives Maris time to find who needs to go where in plenty of time by the after-school program.
Thank you for the presentation. This is very exciting for all of us, I think. One of the questions that I had was about staffing. You mentioned that you're going locally and getting people. How would you train the MELC teachers, for example, if they transition to your firm?
So all of our staff are part of our blended training model. So once Maris would make her local hires, she would interview everybody personally and make those decisions about not just who to hire, but which schools do they fit best with. Every school has its own personality, and we learn that from the building principals and try to make great matches for teams. And then from there, all of our staff go through the online training modules and assessments first. They do that about 2 weeks before the school year begins, and then the week before school starts, they do all of their live training in the program locations with Maris and Jamie, and sometimes other support from our central office as well as other regional leaders. And then after that, the school year is starting, and that's when the ongoing training then kicks off from there. Does that answer your question? Yes. Great.
Thank you for the presentation. I was just interested in when you said, because of your program and how it's geared for the children, that you help to close achievement gaps. So could you give a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So the research that Mark cited early in the presentation about better test grade, better scores, all of those things, those are really, the caveat there is that those outcomes have been measured in the after-school profession for at least 15 years now. So they're known to those of us in this subset of education. However, the caveat is that those outcomes apply only to really high quality after-school programs. So what we're doing is making sure that we're not only delivering on all those high-quality aspects, but we have already begun in recent years measuring our own outcomes. So for instance, we did a 2-year study in 2 districts in central Illinois on social-emotional learning outcomes. We used the developmental assets profile, and we demonstrated that not only were our after-school students thriving in SEL skills, but they also showed substantial gains across most of the dimensions from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. And then presently we're involved in 2 studies in 2 different districts in the US and Canada, looking at things all of like report card data, map testing, SEL, study behaviors, attendance, what else? All kinds of parameters in order to, and including looking at socioeconomic status and race, so that we can come back to you hopefully a year from now and really show you even more information on how we are affecting outcomes with our programming. Thank you.
I echo the thanks for the presentation. I had the pleasure to work with the team as both board member and a parent of 3 children in the district who've all gone through MELC at some point. My oldest is now a senior, so no MELC for her, but certainly my other kids have had the benefit of both before and after care. So I appreciate the work that is being offered on behalf of children in the district. I had a question specifically related to licensing, particularly given the fairly quick turnaround that we're expecting as a district to ensure that we can meet and exceed the expectations of our parent community. So if you could speak to your process, I believe Dr. Rothschild mentioned having folks already in place that are doing that work, but it would be good to hear a bit more about that.
I don't mean this to sound like the Michelle show, but this part of the organization is also under my direction. So we have an entire licensing team with a director of licensing and state specialists. We have a Pennsylvania state specialist named Rosalind Grissett, who has a fantastic reputation already with the state of Pennsylvania. She is known for her outstanding application submissions because they are so thorough and complete the first time in that she makes the job of the licensors really easy. So we are accustomed to coming in, usually having board approval about this time of year. Our staff is already completely familiar with Pennsylvania regulations as we're already operating successful programs in Ridley, as well as Marist knowing the regulations as the on-ground manager to see to compliance. But the application process, in terms of the window, we know the applications in and out. We work with the school personnel to gather things like certificates of occupancy, fire marshal approvals, the few pieces of paper we have to slide into the application, and then we submit it and we just follow the state's process. But we work really closely with them so that we get the inspections done over the summer and we open doors in time for the school year start.
Do you anticipate any challenges in terms of process or turnaround, or is it a process of just getting the paperwork done and ensuring that the state provides the approvals?
Great question. No, we don't anticipate any problems. We have over 90 licensed programs across the country, and Pennsylvania. You know, the states are all a little bit different, but they're also very similar in a lot of ways. So we've really got the process down. And what we have found is it's really about demonstrating to our licensing partners in each state that we are as serious about quality and safety as anybody could possibly be. And when they see that, it's reflected in our paperwork and in our relationships. And so they work with us because they find us to be solid partners. So things usually move quite smoothly.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for the presentation. My question is more of like, you've talked a lot about your curriculum, but if you could just put some color on how your curriculum will mirror or support the curriculum that we're delivering during the day, because I think if you're out of sync, it could be just confusing for kids to learn about something in September from their teachers, and then you're bringing it up in April. So if you could talk about how that synchronization would work.
Sure. So to whatever extent each building principal is interested, or at the district level, we can work with your curriculum leads to align to various themes or topics or initiatives that the district see as priorities. So for instance, we have a district in the Chicago area that is they're really focusing on literacy gains. So we've implemented entire additional literacy pieces to the afternoon experience to mirror that. We have other districts where they'll have certain initiatives around service learning, like a coat drive for a season, and we will align with that. We have certain schools that will tell us, hey, this is the handwriting method we're using with our kindergartners, so we need you to mirror that. And so we say, okay, can we come to a training on that so our staff can learn how to teach that? So we'll align down to instructional methods. We'll align things like your positive behavior guidance system, any trainings the district offers that they would like our staff to attend to create some of that instructional alignment. We will pay our staff to come and attend if you would like that. And like I said, partner with your curricular team to align in any way to support your initiatives. That being said, we also know that we still have to do some disguising of that learning in the afternoon so that it doesn't feel like a 3-hour extension of the school day of traditional sit-down learning, but we can take the same concepts and do them in some really fun hands-on ways and reinforce things that just went on earlier in the day in school. Thank you.
Thanks. I have two questions and they're completely different, so I'll give you a chance to respond to the first one before I ask the second one. Can you talk a little bit about the training your staff's going to receive in dealing with special needs students and the variety of special needs students? We have a large number of our students with some significant behavioral issues and as well as learning issues, and I'd just love to hear you talk a little bit about that, since I didn't hear much in the presentation.
I mean, I'm tired of me, geez. Okay, so great question. So all of our staff receive training to understand how to work with diverse students to begin with, right? So all of our staff learn child development, positive guidance. We have a whole progressive guidance sequence for children who require additional supports to succeed in the program. But as far as special needs, what we do is when parents are registering, they can share with us at that time any special needs their child has, whether they are diagnosed special needs, physical, emotional, behavioral, or sometimes they're just sharing information about their child's personality, things they're sensitive to, maybe a trauma experience they have in their past that they feel like we should know so that we can support their child to be successful in our programming. When that's disclosed, then Maris and her staff team would invite the parent to come in and sit down before programming even began and talk about how can we best serve your child, what works with your child at home, so that we can mirror how we're interacting with the child, down to even using the same terms and methods, even having comforting tools for them in our program that are consistent with the home life. And then what adds a really great tier is when we can additionally partner with the school day teacher, so that you create sort of this trinity around the child of home, school, and right at school, where we're all being consistent with how we're supporting the child. In addition to that, we have some special needs trainings available in our own online system, things like ADD, ADHD, autism spectrum, severe behavioral challenges, things like that. And then, like I mentioned earlier, if the district is having certain trainings on special needs topics, we would be very happy to attend those. That would not only enrich our staff's development, but it would obviously aid children with those needs. And then Maris, who would be the area manager for Lower Merion, her background is actually in special education, so she brings an additional layer of expertise to the local team here.
So how much training do you think your staff gets before they step foot into the building? I mean, you've got this tremendous curriculum, plus you've got, sounds like a pretty extensive plan in terms of special needs. And I'm sure there are medical issues as well, dealing with diabetes or, epilepsies, or a variety of things. So.
Sorry, yes. You want to talk about the hours of training?
Yeah, just in terms of hours, so our leadership, someone like Maris goes through, it's like 60 hours before they ever even launch their programs. Our program managers, then the ones who lead each school location, they go through a solid 20 to 25 hours initially, and then they also have ongoing training throughout the year of another 12 to 15 hours. And then our educators, it's more like a base of 12 hours, and then again ongoing training. And again, that's a blend of online learning as well as live training. And then do you want to?
Sure. So I think to answer the question about special needs, accommodating students with special needs is very important for us from a mission standpoint. And I would say we have a tremendous amount of success doing it, both with Michelle's leadership and then obviously with Maris's experience. We work in schools in Ridley with some schools have a very high special needs population, and we accommodate students very successfully. Students do need to be able to be successful in a group environment. That's important. If students require one-to-one aid, if that's included in their IEP, or we ask the parent to provide it, and we work with third-party agencies on that, and that's consistent with the practice now.
And then the other question I had in a completely different direction. You talked about not having a wait list, and there's two reasons: is staffing and space. Well, as I'm sure you're well aware, we have a real space problem here. So any space that used in any of our buildings is also going to be used during the day by our teachers, because I don't think we have empty space anywhere. So can you talk a little bit about how you share space, how you are able to be respectful of the teachers' properties that are there, how you find space to store your stuff?
Sure.
So could you talk about that a little bit?
So we have probably been in every design and vintage of school building across the country, and certainly are very inventive when it comes to space. We've been in basements, we've been in cafeterias, we've been in cafenatoriums and cafnagymnatorium, the whole gamut of spaces we have seen. we have also been in classrooms. Now, we have a simple standard in terms of how we use space. We leave it, as clean, if not cleaner, than how we entered it. And, we have a simple maxim at Right at School of, don't screw up the easy stuff, right? And so building a real partnership with your teachers, with your janitors, with your school secretaries is very important. If we're in a teacher's classroom and they come to the principal and say, hey, they left my room a mess, the principal is going to say, hey, you left the room a mess, you're not a good partner. They're going to come to Superintendent Copeland and say, hey, this doesn't work at all. I mean, that is not the recipe for the long-term relationships we build. So we go out of our way to collaborate with teachers, to get them little, school supply gift cards to say thank you. If some markers get squished, we just buy new ones. We dropped a microphone once in a cafeteria. We just bought a new one, right? It's that sort of ethos that we go into to really use every available space and to be a great partner to schools.
In terms of your supply question, we have a supply cabinet. It's like this, but the reason we can have this program with a smaller supply cabinet is because we do just-in-time ordering. So the program manager knows the coming week's unit is X, and she has 44 children in that program, and so it comes right before the unit. So it comes in time, it doesn't need to be kept.
Hi, I'll try to be brief, but I also have a little bit of a two-parter. I have 3 kids in the district, one of whom is a 3rd grader at Kinwood and has been in MELC. So one thing and thank you to the committee for all your time and effort, because I agree, this is really exciting. The content of the program and the training, which I had a lot of questions about, is clearly very extensive, because we know this is a people business, and ultimately it's the people working with our kids that are going to deliver all this amazing stuff you're talking about. So one question I had was, in terms of parent engagement, how do we know kind of what the kids are learning, what the plan is, just to get a sense of what they're doing? I'm sure you have a way to do that. And my second question, which is a little more tactical as, a parent user, I love your flexibility. That is amazing. When we go to pre-register, do we have to know now how much we're going to use the program in the fall? Because a lot of us don't know our schedules and our kids' schedules right now, but we'll know more over the summer. So if you could talk a little bit about parent engagement and then just like a very tactical question. Thank you.
So let me answer the second question first, and then Maris, I'll ask you to talk about the parent engagement. So Maris is great at parent engagement, so I'll just talk about how she approaches it. In terms of the schedule, you could sign up for your initial schedule with the days you think you'll need to use. You can change it before the school year starts, and then you could also change it every month if you wanted to. Okay. Do you want to talk about parent engagement?
Okay. As far as parent engagement goes, it's really twofold. On one end, of course, you have myself and Jamie, who are the higher level kind of communicating larger things. So when registration is opening, if there was any, safety concerns or something that happened larger in the district, for example, God forbid, an emergency, that information would be coming directly from us via email or by phone. But then as far as the other side, we have our program managers who are on site, and they are really your day-to-day contact. They're responsible for doing monthly newsletters that go out to the parents. We also have a Facebook page that we would be opening, so we could share, things that we're doing in the curriculum. We put up events, so if we have a summer camp or a half-day camp, for example, all of that information is available online. And then, of course, our phones are on 24 hours a day, and you can always email us. So our doors are really open, and we think communication really is at the heart of all of this. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, the parent board as well. You actually see, thank you. So at each of our sites, we have a trifold parent board, and that's going to have the schedule for the afternoon, pricing information, any flyers for things that are coming up. That'll have the newsletter as well as pictures of things that your kids are doing that day. So we come at it from a lot of different angles.
And the last piece is just how we train our educators to engage with parents when they're picking up. I think we all know as parents that children are not always so communicative about what they did that day, and just being able to share that information so that parents can have a conversation about it at home is really important.
Hi, how you doing? Did you come in from Chicago for the day, or?
Overnight.
Great. Just a couple quick questions. It sounds very exciting. One was the curriculum that you've described in the various programs sounds very exciting and very ambitious. So I was wondering how you differentiate, because you're dealing with 5-year-olds to 11-year-olds, and perhaps you can talk a little about how that works in the after-school or preschool program. And the second question is, if you could just talk about the staffing and what the qualifications of the staffing folks that you intend to hire are.
Sure, I'll answer the differentiation piece, and then Maris will talk about the qualifications. So our curriculum is written to be K-5, and so when you write curriculum for a multi-age grouping, you build into it all types of potential modifications, both simplifying and extending to bring it down to a kindergarten and a first grade level and challenge the 4th and 5th graders. On top of that, of course, the 4th and 5th graders as junior educators have the opportunity to lead those experiences, to not just enjoy them, but to actually employ them as peer mentors to others. And then we see a lot of differentiation opportunities in the long-term project opportunities, where students of any age can get together with peers or on their own, but it's almost always with a buddy or several buddies, and develop projects that stimulate them at their own level. So that's where really it's sort of that locally focused piece that Mark originally envisioned with Right at School, that continues to create opportunities for all types of learners to engage at levels that are enjoyable to them, but also challenging to them uniquely. And then we also encourage our staff, just through their personal knowledge of each child, to understand, this is a child over here who gets very frustrated with cutting with scissors, and so this is a child maybe that teacher's going to stay a little close to during that part of the project, or even have some pre-cut materials. And people who've taught know that you just do know your children that closely, and so there's a lot of that sort of decision making on the spot with our local staff. Does that help? Okay, the Maris?
Yeah, not to just to I mean, it really is very powerful when you take students of multiple ages and have them together and building a community, in terms of how the younger students can learn from the older students, and how older students can really take a leadership role, through our junior educator program or different pieces. I mean, it's amazing to see a 4th grader standing up and leading a group of, 60, 70 students. I've seen, a dad in Texas literally sort of in tears with his son talking about it. I mean, it's pretty, talking about how shy his son is, how he's taking this leadership role. Okay, in terms of staffing, sorry. So, in terms of how we hire staff, I think we have, I would say, 4 really strong sources of staffing. One will be interviewing all of the current employees and giving them a priority to interview, filling from that for anyone who meets our standards. 2, we love to hire aides from the schools. They know the students. A lot of aides would like to have additional hours, and our training is very strong. That's something we'll work through, school by school and with the district, but that's a great source of staff. 3, we love to hire retired educators, those people who want to have a connection to schools. And then 4, we love to hire people who want to be teachers, either undergraduates or graduates. Because if you think about, part-time jobs and why there's, turnover in childcare, there's a lot of different part-time opportunities, right? People can go from one job to the next. If you're going to, retain and grow great talent, there has to be a real hook. And for those folks, we love them because they love working with kids. On the flip side, if you think about schools of education where they struggle, it's, the students coming out, it's curriculum management, it's curriculum delivery or behavior management, and we really give those skills in our training, and so we can help grow those folks and prepare them to be teachers. The requirements, it's a combination of coursework, educational coursework, and experience. They meet all of the Pennsylvania state licensing standards, which vary by their specific role. And just to give a tangible example, we were at a program in Ridley. That's where we went on our visit. That program manager, Jill, has her bachelor's in education, dual bachelor's in education and in special education. She worked in special education for 5 years. She led a large after-school program, and then she came to work for us. I think that's a good example of, yeah.
Can you turn your...
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. No, thank you very much. Thank you for answering all of these questions. And I also want to just take the opportunity on behalf of the entire board to thank the committee, Megan Schaefer, and all of the committee members for all of your work. We know that it was a very thorough process, and it took a lot of time and effort, so we really do appreciate that, and we're all very excited. At this time, I'm going to open it up for audience recognition. This can be on agenda or non-agenda items. So for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with this, we need you to come and sign in. You can speak for up to 3 minutes. You need to tell us your name and just generally where you live in the district. And if you have just one question, then you could just ask that one question. But if you have a bunch of questions, or if you have comments and questions, kind of go through the whole thing. And then when you're done, we'll try and answer them to the best of our ability. So if you would like to speak on this issue or any issue at all, please come and sign in with Ms. LaPera now. And if you, I'm going to close the list once people sign in. So if you want to speak, please come up and sign in right now. And then we'll call your names and great, thank you. So we'll just give people a chance to sign in. And again, this is on this issue or any issue at this time.
Should I start or do I wait a few minutes? Oh, yeah.
This one, so yeah, this is the same.
Okay. All right, so are there still people signing up besides these folks up here? Okay, folks, is there anybody else who wants to sign up? Please sign up now. Okay. I think we'll go ahead and get started. So if you want to sign up, now's the time to do it. And sir, when you are ready to go ahead and start, I'll just remind you, if you could tell us your name, generally where you live in the district, and you have 3 minutes, and she'll let you know when you're ready. Thanks.
Do I have to lean down or that's okay?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can stand up. It's very
Hi, my name's Jim McGowan. I have 5 kids in Ardmore. We live in Ardmore. Love the town. And with 5 kids, I have a hard time keeping up with everything administratively. So I have to say, I've had many kids go through MELC. Very happy with MELC. And no harm to you guys, just it needs to be said. Somehow I missed the whole selection process and the meetings, and now we're down to this final day, so I need to voice that MELC over the years has just done a great job for us. The communication has been great, and we're going to miss that interaction. And with that said, thank you for coming in, and thank you for giving your presentation. And you know, I really, I'm kind of biased, so I can't say anything one way or the other. But thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Lexi Peskin, Kyla Bayer, Ricky Greera, maybe?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lexi Peskin, and I live in Marion Station. I have 2 girls, one who is entering 1st grade, so my first foray into Lower Marion School District is starting this year. So my first question is for you guys. I didn't see a lot, I mean, I know it looks like you have a great curriculum and all that stuff, but I also am a little concerned because they're going to be having a curriculum all day at school, and I want to make sure that there's time for going outside, number 1, you know, weather permitting, obviously, and 2, unstructured play. So if you guys can address that.
That's your last question.
Well, I have another question as well.
Okay, so what I need you to do is just ask all of your questions, and then they can go ahead and.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry about that.
No,
I don't
it's
know
okay.
the
It's
procedure.
fine.
So my other question is, as you can imagine, I work and my husband works, and I am now in a total panic about what I'm going to do for next fall. So I want to know, when am I going to know whether I have a spot for my daughter? And, you know, hopefully as soon as possible, because I need to, so that's my question, and when is that all going to be locked down? So.
Okay, thank you. Can you go ahead and answer her questions? Thanks.
So, you know, one of we frequently ask our students for their feedback about the program, what they like about it, what they think should be better. You know, it's interesting to answer this question. You know, one of the top things they said is we'd like to use our screens more, and we don't use a lot of screens in our program, so we couldn't do that. But the second thing was they said we want to go outside more, and so we took all of our curriculum and built it so it could all be done outside. And really, any day where you can be outside, where the children can be outside, they will be. Do you want to talk about some of the free play and then?
Sure, and just to give you some sense of time, in addition to we have a Right Moves fitness blast that we do right before homework. That may be 10 to 15 minutes outside. After the homework period, we go back outside for 30 to 45 minutes of Play Right Fitness, which is children choosing between a teacher-led fitness activity or self-navigating on their own. Sometimes some kids will go, make a game of flag football or something, or they'll just play on the playground, but everybody's moving, and that is outdoors. And even when the weather's yucky, they're doing it indoors. So we don't not do fitness just because it's yucky outside. We have indoor curriculum as well. And then, like Adam said, a ton of our other thematic curriculum is designed to be done outside. So we believe in fresh air too. And then, sorry, Adam, what was your?
Oh, nothing. Sorry.
Okay.
We have so many things to say.
Sorry.
The other thing that I think is interesting is you're hearing the word curriculum a lot in this.
Yes.
Your children will never hear the word curriculum. They will not feel like they're doing curriculum. That's just something that we care passionately about. They'll when you ask them what was a curriculum, they won't know. When you say what were the activities and what was fun, they're going to have a lot to say.
And then in terms of the registration, so the plan is to this week get the pre-registration list from MELC, and then by May, we're going to review that list, and then by May 1st, send out a link to all those families that are pre-registered, and then you would have until the 9th to register on our system, and that's just so we can open up the general registration on the 10th.
Okay, but if I register, I get a spot, no matter what?
Yes, by May 1st. So we need to get the full list, and certainly we're working with the district and with MELC, and we're going to go through it.
I don't know if I'm on MELC's list, because I am starting this, I sort of enrolled with them, but not really, because then they emailed me and were like, never mind. I was like, oh, hey, that's great.
Got it. So I would say two pieces. One, once we have the actual list, we should, you could talk to our customer service once we have it, and we'll check that you're on there and certainly go through that. And we could,
I would
certainly
suggest
connect with
that you just give them your email.
Yes.
Okay? Anybody
Yes.
who wants to give an email tonight, maybe could give an email tonight, that would be great.
Having said that, I want to make sure everyone understands, we haven't seen the list yet. If 1,000 people already signed up for MELC, we're going to be working the next few days to understand how many people have pre-registered and what spaces are available, and immediately begin extending the licensure.
Okay, great. Who's next?
Kyla Bear, Ricky Greer, did I say it right? Joseph Resnick.
Hi, Kyla Bayer from Narberth. I have a fourth grader at Marion, and I'm about to have a first-time first grader at Marion, and my fourth grader has been at MELC since first grade. So before and after care, so I have 3 questions. One is, what is Maris's experience in starting up a new district system? 2 is I think you called them program managers, the on-site managers. If they are being hired locally, then they won't have had all of this experience in your system, likely. So it seems to me like we only have 1 or 2 people here locally that have the experience to educate and to serve as a resource for the entire district. And I don't quite understand how that is going to carry through on a day-to-day basis if the program managers don't have experience, or if they only have 2 weeks of training in your fabulous system. No complaints about your system. It sounds like it's very interesting, but I'm not sure I quite have the faith yet that it's going to roll out the way it sounds so good. The third thing is I haven't heard anything really, or maybe I missed it, about morning care. My kid is a before and after care kid. And the last thing is we are walkers. So we live close enough to school to walk. And one of our issues has consistently been that our kid is not allowed to walk to MELC in the morning. He has to be signed in. But yet he would be required to walk to school when it starts at 8:45. He's old enough, he's a fourth grader, he's gonna be a fifth grader. I don't want him necessarily hanging out at home for a really long time. I'd rather him be at a morning care playing basketball and doing everything that he loves to do before school, but I really would like the opportunity for him to walk. Frankly, I'd like the opportunity for him to be able to sign himself out at the end of the day with me pre-registering. He can go home with a key. There hasn't been that kind of flexibility, and especially since we're required to be walkers, and we can, that would be nice for us.
Thank you. Can you go ahead?
So I'm going to try and answer
Sorry,
maybe in
it's a
reverse
lot.
order, but I apologize if I miss anything. We have a lot of experience with walkers and with walking students, with permission for walking students. It does depend on the state licensing requirements. In some states, it just is not allowed, and so I just want to give you an answer.
If you could put it on your list to consider,
sure.
how's
If we
that?
if we can do it, we will.
We do it if it's legally allowed, and you should also, if we want to do that, and we have ways for you to sign waivers for that.
That's
but
what
it's
I
up
would've
to
hoped for.
it's up to the state and not us on that.
Got it.
So in terms of implementing new programs, Maris opened up Ridley School District, so she has a lot of experience doing that. Implementing new programs and growing, I believe because, parents talk to other parents, superintendents talk to other superintendents, school board members talk to other school board members. We have grown, and really this is what we do, and we have a very tight formula for that. We met today with each of the principals to start our implementation meetings. As a group, we'll go out and have individual meetings. We'll review each of the spaces. We've already started to consider hiring strategies, and we'll meet with MELC, our plan for training our new employees to make sure they're all up and going. And while Maris is the local area manager here, and Jamie will be supporting her as well, we also have our training manager and our training team who will be coming locally to do additional trainings to make sure that they're ready to go on day one, right? Because having that smooth start for parents on that first day of school and everything before is so important.
But there's an organizational culture that you're talking about that's
Okay,
very
I'm
important.
sorry. I understand.
It's just I don't feel like it's been answered, so how do we do that?
I understand, but we've got.
Do you want me?
Okay, go ahead. But
what-
we'll
The
be able to do
program
this.
manager point.
About what?
Managers hired locally won't have experience. How does
Right.
this carry on through day-to-day?
So it always is different when you have a new district versus how we'll be talking about this 5 years from now.
Sure.
And it will look different in December than it will in October. I think your point is incredibly wise. When you have a new program, there's growing pains sounds too strong, but there is a learning curve. And so while they have all the training, while they've already done childcare, they will be learning what we call the right way. And will there be bumps? There won't be safety bumps. Right? That doesn't happen. There may be in the first few weeks longer sign-outs than there will be a month from now, while the new people are getting used to you, while you forgot to bring your driver's license and things like that. So I think your point is very wise in that in the beginning it's different from how it is a few months from now. But having said that, this is all that we do. We start new districts, and so we're quite adept at it, and we have a national team that visits, that this is what they do. They're the new district implementation team.
There's also the reasonable
I'm
possibility.
sorry.
We didn't answer one of her questions about AM care. Did you want us to?
Okay, go ahead and answer that. Short, if you can.
Absolutely. I was just going to say our morning program is, understand it's sort of the opposite of our afternoon program in the sense that in the afternoon, children are trickling out as parents pick up. In the morning, they're trickling in. So it's a lower key experience. We're really bringing the children in. We have centers that they can go to, including finishing homework, physical activity, having some community time. And what our principals tell us is that children leaving our morning program just seem ready for the day. They're not hyper and they're not sleepy. They're just ready to go.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Yes, no problem. My name is Ricky Gary. I live in Ballackinwood, and I have 3 kids. They're all in before and after care. And I just have 2 questions that I would just like to hear more information about. The first one is just about student safety, such as going to the bathroom and whether there's one person versus 2 people there, and making sure that no kid is alone in a room with an adult, and what your policies are regarding that. And the second thing I had a question about is, I believe when Maris spoke about summer programs, and I want to know what you guys have planned for next summer and whether it's going to dovetail with the SPICE program that's put on by Lower Merion.
Sure. So to the first question about safety, one of our policies is that no staff are ever to be alone with a child. When it comes to transitions from space to space, we move in packs, and we use what I think Adam mentioned before about something called name to face count, where we do identification at every point of transition of every child who's supposed to be with us, so we don't lose or pick up children along the way. As far as bathroom procedures, we use a buddy system. When we're not doing a group trip to the restroom, then children, if they need to go out on their own, always go with at least a buddy. They sign themselves out on something we call a traffic chart, and our staff keep track of that over a few minutes, and then if they don't see or hear those children come back, they check on them. So we're really keeping track of the spaces and the movements between them. And then Adam to the summer.
In terms of summer camp, we have a lot of experience running summer camps. We certainly run a number of them. I know we're still talking with the district about what that would look like for next year. We do that in other districts where we support a program that happens in the morning and we run camp in the afternoon. So we could certainly do that here.
Thank you. Sir?
How you doing? Thanks again. I have one currently in the program and one that'll... Joseph Resnick, Winwood. one in the program, one that is, will be here hopefully in a couple years, perhaps with you guys. I heard a couple of your comments about morning care. That was something that was a little light in the presentation. Would you say that you give the same amount of focus to the program of morning care as the extensive, sort of detailed structure that you provided for the late care? We're almost heavier users of the morning care than we are of the late care. And my second question was about all of the extra time, which includes snow days where we have sort of the extended morning coverage outside of the school district's time, the afternoons, early dismissals, scheduled late openings, and lastly, there are after-school activities that are outside of you guys. How do you handle getting kids to those programs and coverage, and is that something that you guys provide?
It was a big hit there, Mr. Resnick, on the snow days and the early.
Yes.
You're welcome.
We are very intentional in designing all of our programs, including the morning care. When we started out, we said, our morning care is going to look exactly like the aftercare. The reality is that a lot of kids are tired when they come to school, and a lot of kids, especially younger kids, want to talk about their day or what they did with their parents the night before. The third piece is, the children come at different times during the period. So we're very intentional with the activities that we set up in terms of the activity stations, whether it be additional time for homework, whether it be curriculum units, whether it be, quiet reading or other things that help students transition into the day. And we build that flexibility into the program, but we found that it certainly is a little bit of a lighter mix in terms of intensity to meet students where they come into the program. Thank you. So so half days, late starts, break days, we will offer all of those programs here. Half days would be in each school building. When there are break days, we would do that in central locations. When the school building is closed, our program wouldn't operate because we couldn't get there. When we open the kindergarten enrichment center for the 1920 year, that will give us an opportunity to have some additional space where we can host kids on even additional days.
Thank you. Can you call the next names, please?
Lynn, Zach, Carolyn, Vacchini, maybe? Eric Lichtenstein, Benjamin Pensley.
Hi, Lynn Zach from Villanova. I just want to say first that this process, I think the first parent said he missed things. He didn't miss anything. The email Thursday was the first notification to parents that this was going on. And now we find out it was, thank you, 75 days. That's how long this board spent. 75 days in some secret process, and from the language I'm hearing here about transition, this is a done deal. So the audience recognition is for show. You don't care. But I'm going to ask some questions anyway. Right at School entered Pennsylvania in March of 2017. At present, there is no record of your licensing with DHS. So I'm very curious why Right at School is not licensed. If you're operating in Ridley, you don't have a license in your name. That's one question. Policy and process for safety, you discussed that. But one of the questions that one of the previous parents asked, and this is really a yes or no, do you have a specific policy that prohibits staff from being alone with children? That's it.
Thank you. Would you like to comment first?
Only that we did send out a letter, I think it was in December, that indicated that we were going to be re-examining our relationship with MELC.
Re-examining and issuing an RFP are, to me, very different things. The RFP should have been public. I had to go to the agenda to find out their name so I could do a DHS search. I did my homework. I had 4 days to do it, and I did my homework because it matters to me. It matters more than 75 days to me.
So, first of all, we did actually say that we were doing a RFP process. And secondly, we made the decision on which provider to recommend on. Can you say the date? Can you give that information, please?
Yes, as I had shared earlier, and I'm sorry, I have to refer back to my notes, the date that the decision was finally made was on April 19th.
Yes, April 19th. The RFP went out on 2/1, so 75 days.
Yes, but the recommendation was decided recently, which is why we're hearing it this evening. So we didn't decide the recommendation earlier than that, if that's what you're suggesting.
We're only hearing from one provider. The decision's been made.
So the decision's been made from the committee on who to recommend. So, and that was our process, and.
That's semantics, I believe. But I
Okay.
did have the questions.
Well, we'll have your questions answered, so if you want to go ahead on those questions.
Sure, thank you for the licensing question. So as Adam said earlier, all of our licenses in Pennsylvania and everywhere in the country are in good standing. We have provisional licenses for all of our Ridley programs. So in the state of Pennsylvania, licensing is a two-step process. You are first inspected, and when you are, which we went through last fall when we opened, and then you receive a provisional license. And then when you have your provisional license, then they schedule a second inspection for a permanent license. We currently are awaiting those inspections. That's a normal part of the process, so we are right where we're supposed to be with the Pennsylvania State Licensing Office, and we're just really waiting for them to schedule those. But we are in good standing with them.
In whose names would those be?
Go ahead.
The Compass system is a little hokey. You have to search the location of the schools to identify the programs.
I searched MELC as well, and I've got theirs as a list.
Yeah, I can't really speak to that, but if you search the locations, the licenses come that way. And then, just to answer your question, yes, there's a policy that forbids staff from being alone with students.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Bacciani. I also have two children in, Marion Station. I have two children who attend before and after care. We did touch a little bit upon the snow days. I don't know if you know the procedure that was in place, was that the program opened at 8 a.m. on a snow day when there was a 2-hour delay. If you could comment on that. And you didn't touch on the days off during the year, so when there are, 4-day weekends and that kind of stuff, is there coverage and where is it at? And then in addition to what she had mentioned about the licensing, I also did my homework, and when you pull up some of the compliance reports, there's a lot of concerns about safety issues, and almost everything on your safety slide was in one of the non-compliance reports that I read. And can you comment on those at all?
So let me answer okay, I hope I don't forget any of the pieces, but let me answer. So Jamie, go ahead and answer what you were saying.
With the snow days, we're doing the same thing. So when there's a delayed opening, instead of opening at 7, we're going to open at 8 o'clock.
When there are break days, we'll be open. We'll choose one or two locations, one or two school locations with the district, and we'll probably have the programs there, but they will be available. And then to answer your licensing question, so we have, just to reiterate some of the things that Michelle said, so we have 90 licenses across the country. All of those licenses are in good standing. We really have an amazing team of licensing specialists, 4 of them, plus Michelle. All of our licenses in Ridley are in good standing. What you mentioned were some, minor action items related to paperwork, so that all of the things that come up are just paperwork related. So, for example, if a parent doesn't fill out a form correctly, that could be flagged as an action item. Or if there's a Xerox of a educator's transcript instead of the original, that would be flagged as an issue on the system. And so in no way would I make light of those, but there is a lot of parent paperwork, and speaking as a parent.
Some of them were employee paperwork about not having,
Yeah,
clearances on file.
I can
and those
clarify
issues.
that one. And the tough thing, and to your point, because I look at those systems through a parent lens too, and they're not descriptive of the full incident. So for instance, in Ridley, there was an employee who was fully background checked. All of our employees go through all the clearances we said early, and we do not put them anywhere. We don't even put them into training, much less anywhere near a child, until those clearances are fully through. We had an employee who had that clearance, but there's an electronic association of an employee's clearance with a program location. It's an electronic sort of hinging, and that person didn't have that proof on site when the inspector came. And so it's not that that employee wasn't cleared, it's that we didn't have the piece of paper at the location the day the inspector came. So we got the piece of paper, and then that was cleared. So all of those things that you read, like a parent missed a signature or whatever, those have also all been rectified. So I appreciate your attention to those. I really do as a parent. I get it.
And just to add one final piece here, I mean, we take licensing incredibly seriously, and we're also always focused on how we can improve. And certainly as we look to Lower Merion, one of the things that we've already decided and are planning to do is just to have 2 of our licensing specialists on site. We want them at the start of the year just to review all of the parent paperwork, and we'll have them review the staff paperwork as well, just to make sure that we do it even better going forward, which is, always our approach.
Yeah, we have also worked just as an organization, because licensing paperwork from a parent perspective it's really heavy. We fill out a lot of forms as parents with every new school year, I know. So we're actually working with states at the state level in a lot of places to see if we can help states get to a place of doing it electronically with parents, so that you only have to do it once a year or once maybe in a lifetime and update it, and that would make it more streamlined for parents as well as for our staff when we're starting programs. That's just something we're working on, because we hear this challenge in a lot of places.
Okay, thank you. Can we have the next
Eric
speaker, please?
Lichtenstein, Benjamin Prensley, Jessica Chi, Lauren Fulmer, and
Excuse me, I just want to cancel Benjamin Prensky. My question was answered.
Hi, Eric Lichtenstein, Wynwood. I've got 2 kids, one going into kindergarten next year and one following a couple years later. First, I have a comment for the board, and then I've got some questions for you guys. For the board, I want to echo what someone else said earlier. You said you sent out a communication about this process 75 whatever days ago. Whatever method that was, it failed. I didn't get that, but I certainly did get the email you sent out a couple days ago that basically said the decision was made. That makes me, as a community member and a parent, unhappy that I didn't get a chance to see the rest of that process. It would have been nice if we had an opportunity to have a presentation like this from the other candidates, so that the whole community could participate. So that's a comment for you guys. Questions for you guys. Maybe this was somewhere and I didn't see it. What are the logistics and the costs for the early care and not the aftercare part, but the late care? I'm a parent that has to drop off as early as possible and pick up as late as humanly possible. And I didn't see that in the presentation. Will that be available? Or I guess I can ask all the questions. So there's that one. I didn't hear anything about the handling half-day kindergarten. How does that work? Where do they go? What are the costs, et cetera? This wasn't clear to me, but maybe it was to everybody else. Is this in all of the schools? Will this, I heard what you said about the missing school days in a few schools. I'd like to know what schools they will be. I'm in Penwyn. Last 2 questions. You mentioned some kindergarten enrichment center. I'd like to hear more about what that is, where that will be, how that will work for busing and moving people. And then the last one, this is my confusion. You have different dates for when the MELC families will be able to enroll versus when the rest of the community will be able to enroll. So I'm wondering, with your no weight limit policy, why does that exist?
Okay. Let me see if I can answer. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes, it will be in all of the schools. We have flyers outside that have we have flyers that we could give you that have pricing for the before and after care, and so you can do before alone or after school alone or a combination, and it's discounted for a combination. In terms of the times, yes, you can drop off as soon as it opens, at 7, and then as late as it goes at 6. Certainly.
Adam, I just want to interrupt. It's the same times as MELC.
Yeah. So the half-day kindergarten, so we are currently, we've been reviewing locations, and our plan is to open a kindergarten enrichment center for half-day kindergarten in the 1920 school year. So we didn't talk about it now because it's not for this year.
So what do I do this year? I don't care about next year.
Sure.
One of the things I mentioned in the beginning was that we were maintaining our relationship with MELC for the kindergarten program.
Okay.
The question about the MELC family, so our understanding is that families have already pre-registered through the existing process, and so we're just honoring those initial registrations before we open up the general registration.
But there's still no wait lists.
We have never had a wait list in our history. There are 2 reasons why there are wait lists: staffing and space.
We got that.
With the staffing, you will never have a wait list. With space, we may find that there are rules. We have just found out that we are the selected provider. We may find out that there may be at a school or 2 schools space constraints beyond our ability that would have been the exact same constraints for any provider, past, previous, or future. The one advantage that you have with Right at School is pretty solid experience in maximizing that. So I can't tell you what we don't know yet. We have already begun conversations with principals, and the conversations we've had is they do not want space to be a factor, and they want to be as flexible as possible. It is in our best interest to maximize for every children who want. It's not only our mission, but we're here to serve every child who wants it. So I just cannot answer so the reason we want to go with the families who pre-registered first is to ensure that if at one of the schools there's something beyond our ability in the first year to fix, that priority is given.
Okay, thank you very much.
And also, that's respecting the process that MELC has done for years, and we want to respect that process.
Thank you. Can we have our next speaker, please?
Hi, I'm Jessica Chi. We're moving to Marion Station on Saturday because my oldest daughter started kindergarten. So this is all very new to me. Thank you for answering the question about kindergarten. That was my other question. And related to that, I wanted to know, it sounds like that there would certainly be a benefit for giving MELC teachers priority in moving to your company. However, if kindergarten enrichment will still be at MELC, I'm a little concerned that that generates some competition in terms of quality of staff at both providers of care for our children this year, at least. And then the other question I had for Right at School was if you could share maybe a couple challenges you've experienced in entering a school district. And we've heard a lot about how things go well, but things certainly don't always go well.
So I'll start with the challenges one. I think it's a great question. We certainly learn something every time we enter into a new school community. One of the challenges that we have is that we are very focused on safety. So, when we, at the beginning of the year, parents may say, why is it taking time for me to sign out my child? There's a line of people here, and that can be different, right? And so for us, that's because we're checking every one of those IDs, and we need to make sure that we recognize the person. And our sign-out procedures can be more rigorous than people are used to. And, we're all busy parents, and so if you want to pick up your kids right at, 6 o'clock, it's like, why is this taking some extra time? That certainly is one. Other ones that stand out?
Just the sign in and sign out's the only challenge. No, we're asking each other right now.
I think another challenge is that it will feel different. if you've been a parent here for years and you've had your child in MELC for 4 years, this will feel different and your kids will feel different in the program. So that's always a challenge, that children coming home the first week and saying, this isn't MELC, I miss Miss Julie, I miss Mr. Adam. And we want to hear those challenges from families. We want to hear how it feels different and how we can make children happier after school.
Yeah, I would say our biggest learning in the last couple of years was the way that we used to train versus the way we train now. We used to do something, we used to herd people into rooms in a non-school location, talk at them for 3 days, and then, kind of hope that it would all transfer to the school setting. And that's not an effective way for adults to learn, we found out. They didn't enter feeling confident. They didn't enter feeling equipped. They didn't feel like they knew how to handle difficult scenarios. So from that, we really overhauled our entire system. So we do pay attention to our pain points. We constantly survey our parents, our own staff. We listen to children through surveys too, and we really take to heart the feedback because they're telling us something that needs to change. And because we're innovative and agile and have that attitude of making things better continually, we don't hesitate. We don't have egos about changing things. We just want to make them better, safer, easier for all parties. So yeah, we're continual learners ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much. Have the next speaker, please.
I have a question about the teachers at the kindergarten.
So there would be there are currently MELC teachers at each of the schools now and teachers at the kindergarten center. I can't speak to MELC staffing, but theoretically there would be folks who had worked at the schools who would be potentially interested in positions with us. So they're separate facilities.
Okay. Thank you. Have the next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Lauren Fulmer. We're a Kinwood family. I have a third grader and a rising kindergartner. This is more of an operational question for kindergarten. I'm wondering how it will work now that there will be two separate entities operationally for delays or I guess specifically delays or half days. I think in the past, if there had been a delay, MELC watched the kids at school and then took them to the Richmond Center, or if there was an early dismissal, they watch them as well. How will that work since there will be two different entities? Considering I'll have to pick one child up at one time or potentially one at another. I don't know if you can answer that or you guys can. I don't know who can answer it.
I was asking Mrs. Schaefer to talk about what she was discussing.
Well, it's our goal to operationalize Right at School as a provider, as MELC operated in our building. So we're doing our best to transition those practices to a new provider. So to the extent we provided coverage, we will work together not only with MELC, if your child's enrolled in MELC, for kindergarten wraparound services, as well as Right at School to make sure that there's coverage. So we still need to work out some of those technical details around how we would coordinate that, but it is our goal, again, to make sure that that coverage is provided as it was before.
And as I understand it, Mrs. Schaefer, so that originally what would happen, let's say a half-day PM student, if they were, a morning kindergarten student, they'd be transported to an off-site for the other half of the wraparound program, but then transferred back to the elementary school for dismissal.
Correct.
I think what we're working out is that it works one way. Student would stay with MELC, and parents would pick them up there instead of picking them up back at the school. Isn't that what we're?
What? That's correct. The question, I think, I see those as two different issues that we started with what if there's a delay, correct, if as a result of this, a weather event?
Sure.
And so again, we would work if your child was in AM kindergarten with us and had before care services here on site with Right at School, those would be provided as was, I think, mentioned earlier, on a delayed basis. With a delayed opening. There is, with regard to the transportation, just generally around kindergarten program, the option to take wraparound services with MELC what we're proposing to do is to continue transportation from a school site to MELC where after-school care could be provided there at the MELC site if the student was in AM care, PM wraparound services, and then aftercare provided thereafter at MELC. There wouldn't be a return trip back to school in order to receive services there. So there would be a pickup at MELC if that was
Okay, so let me just clarify two things here. I have one child in school at Kinwood, so he goes from 9 to 3:30, and let's say my child gets AM kindergarten, cross fingers. So, normal school day, my daughter, my younger one will go to kindergarten from 9, I think, to 11:50? 50. And then she will get the bus at school to MELC for her kindergarten enrichment. Are you stating she will not get brought back to school to be picked up with my son at Kinwood, and I would have to do two separate pickups?
So you would want them, okay, I hear what you're saying. Let us work on the logistics of that.
Okay, and then my second clarification is, my daughter does AM kindergarten, there's a school delay. So typically, as I understand it, as it works now, let's say school starts at, let's say she has PM kindergarten, makes it easier. School starts at 11 that day, it's a 2-hour delay. MELC would take her at the school for the remainder of the morning and cover her, even though I have no before or after care because it's all combined. So I can drop her off the same time as my son and then pick her up for, But I'm kind of wondering how that would work. Would I need to drop him off at 11 and her off at sometime before kindergarten so they can bus her from there to MELC? Just, maybe you don't have the answers and that's fine, but it's definitely something, because it's two separate entities that need to be thought about, especially with kids in other schools.
I appreciate the question. So I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
I think we'll put that together. Thank you.
Thanks.
It's, last name is, I think it's Peretz. Is it Adam? Oh, yeah.
Adam Peretz. I have a third grader at Marion. I'm from Bala, Kinwood. Most of my questions were already asked, but I have a couple more questions, maybe directed more towards the board. The first question is what type of oversight is the board going to have with Right at School? And I guess the other question I had, and I was a little confused by this, but in the video you showed, very last end, the principal said that Right at School shared revenues. And I was wondering exactly what that meant by sharing revenues. And I guess the third thing is I'm still confused about the breaks and these central locations. What is that? Is that other schools, or is that something else, or how is that? Or do we have to transport our kids halfway across the school district to drop them off and then head back the other way to head to work? So, thank you.
So I can answer in terms of the oversight, we don't have direct supervision over generally anybody who uses our facilities. So we have swim clubs who use LMH swimming pool. We have a variety of different athletic groups that use our facilities, and they pay rent. In fact, that whole process is under review with the policy committee right now. However, with with childcare, it puts it into a whole new level for us, and so we feel a special responsibility to make sure that we're overseeing whoever is providing childcare in our building to the greatest extent a separate entity can. Now, there were specific questions that.
Well, the specific question was about the money.
Oh, the money, I'm sorry. Well, as I understand it, and again, the provider was chosen based on the quality of the program, not necessarily the finances that goes along with it. We understand that they're going to pay, and we understand, they're going to pay a rent the way MELC did, But if the profits exceed a certain level, then there's a return to the district.
We have Rajan, Kristen Landman, and Lauren Hudson.
Hi, my name is Raj Jain. We're new to the district. My daughter's going to be in first grade next year. Oh, and we live over in Gladwin. So I had a question that wasn't answered earlier. It was like a really nuts and bolts question. When will we know, yes or no? Like just a date, so that we can plan. And I hope not, but what if my daughter hates it? What happens then? And just a really simple question. Have you been in a district this large? So.
So if your daughter hates it, which I'm confident won't happen, then we would definitely give you a refund and, certainly apologize profusely. We've been in districts this large and much larger. What was the first question? Oh, sorry. So again, we will receive the list from MELC, we're told, this week, and our plan is to let all the parents who are pre-registered on that list know by May 1st. We'll reach out and give you a link to register through our system. And you would have until May 9th for those families who've already registered with MELC, and then general registration would open on May 10th.
And you'll know right away when you register. If it says wait list, then you're waitlisted. If you're registered, you're registered. It'll tell you right away.
Yes, I'm sorry if that wasn't.
Yeah.
Thank you. Denise.
Hi, Kristen Landman, live in Penn Valley, and I have an incoming kindergartner and an 18-month-old. My question relates to kindergarten as well. I apologize. I realize you answered my first question was, is your program being offered to either the morning or afternoon half-day kindergartners in the district, and that I was really hoping so. And second question, if not, and I'm asking this question purely from the perspective of a parent with their first child entering the district for the first time, no agenda, just trying to navigate all of this. If MELC was felt to not meet the standards of the board at this juncture for various reasons, how can I feel confident sending my child, my 5-year-old, there for enrichment on a daily basis? Do you have plans for alternative options for your half-day kindergartners this year? What are they? If not, please tell me you're exploring other options for this coming school year, because otherwise I find that really unacceptable.
Again, we put out an RFP for before and after care programs. We also felt, and I said this in the beginning, that while circumstances that took place in Kinwood provided the impetus for the change, we also felt going through the process that MELC had made a good faith effort to make sure that their program was safe. And so we felt good about that, but the committee did make a decision based on the program. So that's why we feel confident about going forward with the kindergarten program, because they have it in place. What I'm hearing and have discussed with Right at School is, while they'll make every effort to develop a kindergarten program, they can't guarantee it because they have to search out space, as with some other providers that we looked at. So we're trying to work with MELC this year because we know it's important for parents.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hudson. I am from Belmont Hills, and I have 2 boys. One is starting kindergarten, my oldest, in the fall. My son attended MELC Narberth, and we loved the experience, so it was a no-brainer to sign up for the before and after care and the K enrichment. The consistency that it provided for us was knowing our baby, my baby is going to be with one person in the morning, go to their kindergarten teacher, hopefully AM kindergarten, afternoon at MELC with the same teacher, and then go back to Belmont Hills and be with the same teacher. He does have allergies, so that's a huge concern of mine. The possibility that he could be with 4 or 5 different people in the day is terrifying. So I'm wondering, I would still like him to go to K enrichment with MELC, and it sounds like you're gonna go and have the staff members apply to your program. Is there any way that there could be some sort of collaboration that maybe those same teachers could sort of provide that consistency that my husband and I sat down and decided this is where we wanted our baby? And now I'm terrified. Like, your parents, you understand that. I want my baby to be safe. And so I just want to know if there's going to be any kind of collaboration. Is there any way to maybe make that part of your process?
Yes, I have kids exactly the same age, so yes, I certainly do understand it from a parent's perspective, and certainly we're very open to that, and working with the district, and we can reach out to MELC to see if there's a way to do that. I don't want to promise it now without sort of getting into all the specifics, but we're very open to looking at ways to do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just as an addendum on the allergy piece, so all of our parents, we require them to share with us all medical information. Licensing requires updated medical information. All of that information goes to our site staff on a daily basis. So literally, if on a Tuesday morning you find out your child has a peanut allergy, our staff knows when they print the roster that day at 2 o'clock. We carry emergency medicine, EpiPens, all that type of stuff with us wherever we go. Even if we just walk out to the playground, that emergency medicine is on our staff. It is always right by your child. And then if any parents want to give us specific administration instructions, a demonstration training for the site staff, we'll take it. Thank you.
So thank you again for coming out this evening. I did want to just say a few words. Clearly, we were aware that this is a difficult situation, and acknowledge the stress that this has caused for a number of families, which is why we had this special board meeting. We also, I do have to mention, though, that in December, I did send out a letter. The letter did say that as part of the review process, we will, quote, be issuing a request for proposals to child care providers, including MELC, to provide child care services to children and families in the Lower Merion community. So we did, I think, make it pretty clear that we were going to be looking at a variety of vendors, and that is what we did. I'm hoping that this new arrangement is going to work, if the board votes for it, for everyone. But I do acknowledge the concerns that the families this evening have expressed. And we will try and take your comments and concerns. I know we've worked on an FAQ list, and if there are operational things we can do to make things better for everybody, we'll certainly do it.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for everyone coming in, providing comments and questions. At this time, we're going to move on with our regular meeting, and Mr. Orlando, can you please read the contract?
Sure. The recommended action item, the administration recommends the Board of School Directors award the contract for child care services to Right at School LLC, subject to modifications approved by the superintendent in consultation with the solicitor for a term commencing July 1, 2018 and ending June 30, 2020.
Thank you. At this time, are there any more questions from board members? Go ahead.
School nurse, emergency situation. That's just one question that I had that I did not hear, other than, your people carrying around EpiPens?
Great question, thank you. So we know school nurses are gone after school. We do not rely on the medication or information they have stored in their offices or their wisdom. So we make sure that we have all of that parallel information from parents, as well as the emergency medication, of course, and permissions on file from parents. Our staff are trained in how to handle everything from minor cuts and scrapes with first aid to CPR to AED, as well as other emergency medical responses, and they will not hesitate to call 911 in an emergency.
Just a question for the board. Do we have a process in place to review and evaluate whether we've made the right decision, like in 12 months or so, or do we want to look back and maybe get some feedback from families to make sure that things are going the way we're hoping?
So to ensure that we got good response to the RFP, the contract is for 2 years. However, there are, and we're working out the specific details for that, but obviously we would look for that as we move forward to a renewal.
We're also discussing this in policy as well, in terms of our general oversight, not only of all of our kinds of services that we are contracting. So this is a more general policy discussion as well. Right. Are there any other questions? Okay. At this time, then, do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, then the motion passes. So thank you. As you've heard, our community is a very active and engaged community, and so we will be looking for you all to deliver and looking forward to having a great relationship here. So thank you very much. You've got to go next.
I do. Under Human Resources, issuance of charges to professional employee, the administration recommends the Board of School Directors authorize pursuant to Section 1127 of the Pennsylvania School Code the issuance of a detailed written statement of charges to employee number 4075 and authorizes the administration and solicitor to take all actions necessary to ensure compliance with Section 1127.
Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? The motion passes. The Board of School Directors nominates Virginia Pollard to act as the school district representative on the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors for a one-year term beginning July 1st, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? You're not allowed to oppose. Okay. With great appreciation for your continued service in this role. Thank you very much. The motion passes. At this time, we are going to adjourn, and I will remind people that there is a meeting on May 1st at 6:30 at Penn Valley, where you can ask more questions directly to our new provider. Thank you very much.